Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. What type of cardio do you recommend for the least impact on recovery for weight/strength training, but the greatest benefit for cardiovascular health? Ooh, well, we're going to have a conflict here, because endurance and true cardiovascular health are not necessarily the same thing. In other words, you don't have to have really good conditioning to do endurance work. Okay. However, true conditioning work is actually much harder on recovery. So here's what I'm going to say. If your goal is to just get some health benefits and to facilitate recovery, this is where list cardio comes in. I try to just get 30 minutes of list in every day, particularly on lifting days, particularly my leg days. I like to get it in about an hour after I train. Right, about an hour after I finish training on leg days, I try to get that in. And some days I do more than 30 minutes, but the goal is 30 minutes. Now, that will not interfere with your training at all. It will not impact your recovery as long as you are not using it to create a big calorie deficit, or if you're already used to it when you go into a deficit, which is what I did, because I was doing up to an hour a day when bulking. So I actually do a little bit less while cutting right now, personally. It will help with your recovery. Doing list cardio, in my experience, helps with recovery, particularly lower body recovery. Hey, I find that it helps tremendously. It even helps reduce DOMs and things like that. So it's what I recommend in general. However, if you're trying to get the greatest benefits, you need to be doing GPP, right? You need higher intensity cardio. For me, what is that these days? Sled drags, some kettlebell swings. I could probably work loaded carries back in. I have farmer's walk handles. I'm just not as big of a fan of them as the other things. They're certainly doable. Here's the problem. They're harder on recovery. You have to build those up very, very gradually. You have to build them up. And when you first start doing them, if you're not careful and you don't keep the volumes of them very low, it will interfere with your strength training, particularly your lower body stuff, right? Your leg work, your squat strength, all of that. It can interfere. So there's a balancing act that has to be found there. And so again, the question is a little bit nuanced, because I would say again, recovery and list cardio, absolutely, hands down. But it's not going to give you the full health benefits of real conditioning work. The higher intensity stuff, particularly that's weighted, right? Sled drags, kettlebell swings, loaded carries, right? Pushing a prowler, barbell complexes. That stuff's going to give you over time the best carryover to your lifting and really improve your conditioning for your lifting itself. But you have to build it up, and if you're not careful, it will absolutely crush your recovery. So again, the answer's a little nuanced. All right, next question. How do you feel about high rep calisthenics, specifically burpees? I got to 100 straight, but went back to weights for a more efficient strength workout. Do they have a place in endurance and active rest days in your book? Burpees, probably not. I'm not a fan of burpees. I don't see the point. I didn't even know those were classified as calisthenics. Calisthenic people even call those calisthenics? Because when I think of calisthenics, I'm thinking of pull-ups, dips, glute ham raises, fall under calisthenics, right? Things like that. Or even guys doing body weight pistol squats and stuff. That's what I think of as calisthenics. That have a real strength component. Burpees, not so much. So, I don't know. You could do them, but I would rather you drag a sled or do kettlebell swings or something like that for conditioning. Barbell complex is much better conditioning than burpees. But as far as high rep calisthenics, I think it has its place. I have no problem with that. You know what? If I have someone who really needs to bring their triceps up and dips are comfortable for them, I have no issue with someone doing a bunch of high rep dips, body weight dips, right? Pull-ups, chin-ups, same thing. I think they have a place in strength training. Don't overdo them though, because that's where I started developing overuse, is when I was doing 100 chin-ups every day. So when I first started seeing the signs of overuse, it later led to me impinging my shoulder months down the road after I quit doing it. Because again, that's 700 chin-ups a week. I was doing that for a while. carried over to my deadlift tremendously. It actually helped me get my first 600 plus deadlift since I've been on YouTube. But again, you've got to watch this. You still have to factor in the total volume of these things. There's still strength training, right? There's still resistance training. And you do need to look at your total daily and weekly volumes when assessing this stuff, right? Otherwise, we push into overreaching, overuse, everything else, particularly some of these movements where we're just repeating the same movement over and over and over with no variation, right? You're doing the exact same movement. Overuse injuries can become a problem. Some of the younger guys are like, well, I don't have a problem when they're 24. You're 22. You get up to 40 years old, overuse issues become obvious a lot more quickly. So just be aware of that. But again, body weight exercises are just a tool like anything else. There's nothing special or magical about them, but they're valuable tools and they have a place in training, but they do just need to be factored into your total volume and workloads for the week. And like with anything else, you can only handle so much of them before you need to vary them before we start getting overuse problems. All right, next question and last question of the week. Presumably, you're more than capable of rigging up a cable pulley system to use with a weight pen, but you have not elected to do so. Is it the case then that you don't really buy into the idea that cable exercises offer good stimulus to fatigue for hypertrophy? Interesting question. No, I just don't think they bring enough to the table to warrant it. If you have access to cables, I can see points of using them. I mean, I've got a married couple who have a full cable station in their home. They have 2 racks and a full cable station in their basement. Now, 4 people chime in and say, that seems like a lot of stuff. Well, if both of them can afford coaching, they're doing pretty good financially. Let's just be realistic here. Yeah, they have that at home, and we do some cable stuff, right? Because they have it. But realistically, they're just other exercises. That's all they are. There's nothing magical or special about cables. I don't think they offer any special stimulus to fatigue. They just give us slightly different movement pattern variations. And they're very limited. There's not really much you can do for the lower body. But certain delt movements, lateral raises with cables, maybe flies, tricep extensions. Those things have their place. They're useful exercises. But, if I were to try to rig up, if I wanted to invest more money and take up more space, and I'm already limited for space. Because I don't want my gym to extend into other rooms. I'm trying to limit it to just this living room and dining room area of this condo. I don't want it in either bedroom at this point because I have 2 bedrooms. I don't want it all spread into there. If I was going to invest more money to give myself some better upper body variation and take up more space, I would probably get a full dumbbell set, right, with dumbbells up to 100 plus pounds. That's where I would invest over cables. I feel like that would actually bring more to the table than cables would. And I'm not anti-cable, right? I have plenty of clients who use them for smaller movements, but I don't think that they're really that special. That's just it. It just gives us some slight movement pattern variations. Like anything else, they're just another tool in the toolbox. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.